All right. Good afternoon and welcome to the meeting of the Governor's Interagency Advisory Council on Homelessness to Housing Technical Assistance Committee. This meeting has been publicly noticed in compliance with Nevada's open meeting law. Chair Michelle Fuller Halauer will call the meeting to order.
Good afternoon. It is 1:05 p.m. on August 18th, 2026. I'd like to call the meeting of the Nevada Interagency Advisory Council on Homelessness to Housing Technical Assistance Committee to order. Abigail, will you please call roll?
Yes. Chair Michelle Fuller Halauer,
Present.
Vice Chair Brooke Page,
Present.
Dr. Pamela Janelle, Chris Murphy,
Present.
Adrian Babbitt,
Present.
Julie King,
Present.
Dr. Diana Turner, Dr. Katrina Grigsby Thedford,
Present.
Arash Ghaffori,
Present for duty.
Joanna Grant, Vevlin Grant.
Present.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have quorum.
Excellent. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. We will move on to agenda item number 2. That is public comment. No action may be taken upon a matter raised until the matter has been specifically added to the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. If you're making a public comment via phone, please call 1-775-321-6111. The ID number is 731-029. 308 pound. We are now open for public comment. Please unmute yourself and state your name for the council.
Good morning, Dr. Pam Janelle, Nevada Department of Education. I'm just using the public comment space to say that I am present. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Janelle. Any other public comment? Do we have any written public comment?
There is none, Michelle.
Okay, thank you for that. Last call for public comment at the top of this meeting. Before I close this item, I just want to remind everybody that there will be another opportunity for public comment at the end of this public meeting. With that, I will close this agenda item and we will move on to agenda item number 3 for possible action. Discussion and possible approval of minutes for the July 21st, 2026 Interagency Advisory Council on Homelessness to Housing Technical Assistance Committee meeting. Committee members, you should have received a copy of the minutes attached to your calendar appointment. At this time, I will take any discussion about the minutes. If you have any discussion or edits, now is the time to bring that up. If you have none, I will entertain a motion for approval.
This is Adrian. I move to approve the minutes from July 21st, 2026.
Thank you, Adrian. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
This is Arash Ghaffori, so seconded.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please unmute yourself and indicate by stating aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Please unmute yourself and indicate by saying nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 4 for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding public comment that was brought up at our last meeting on July 21st, 2026. As no action can be taken at the time of public comment until it is put on an agenda. So that the public comment from our last meeting was put on the agenda so that we can discuss it. So for everybody's reminder, I will just go ahead and read the public comment so that we can have some discussion or response to that public comment. So the public comment is Interagency Advisory Council on Homelessness to Housing. As a part of the loyal opposition, I want to present another point of view on homelessness. My background is below. First, I ask you to look at the PowerPoint at www.homelesssolutionsusa.org. The first reality is that, agree or not, the present administration is moving away from housing toward treatment that was long supported by Democrats in the past. I and others believe it's a drug addiction and mental illness, not housing or jobs. Following California's lead, we need changes in NRS 4333 mental health commitments to allow judicially approved longer stays for those in need. NRS 433.003 Declaration of Legislative Intent 2 to charge the Division of Public and Behavioral Health and the Division of Child and Family Services of the department with recognizing their duty to act in the best interests of their respective consumers by placing them in the least restrictive environment. It is not in the best interest of souls tormented by perceived demons and totally unable to care for themselves to be released on the street, often to be victimized. Sadly, but it is necessary to place these persons in a humane treatment facility while meeting all NRS 433 legal and judicial requirements. Stats show that mentally ill are prone to petty criminal behavior or worse, and fires, be them accidental or arson. Homeless fires are the #1 fire calls that urban fire departments respond to. And then there's a looks like a snapshot of several news articles regarding fires that are related to homelessness that were all submitted by the person that wrote this this public comment. At the 2026 Homeless Alliance Conference, these realities cannot be ignored and must be discussed. The official stated policies of the DHHS and administration cannot be ignored. Then there's a picture of 3 people having their heads in the sand. I'll point out that year after year, I offer as the loyal opposition to present that point of view, and the at first agreed, then refused, saying that none of these ideas are proof. Really, which programs are they offered are working? We have more homeless than ever. Plan A is proven to work, but I or others can't present the other side. Please urge the conference host to include all sides, and I'm sure somebody from the federal government could be found to attend and speak. If you can't log in, a copy of the updated PowerPoint available on request. Sincerely, Jeff Church, RenoTaxRevolt.com. And then it states that Sergeant Jeff Church is retired from the Reno Police Department, where he founded and ran RPD Help Homeless Program. He also founded and was board president of Reno's first 24/7, 365 Homeless Resource Center. Jeff holds 2 college degrees and has attended many conferences and meetings on homeless issues and toured facilities in Southwest USA as part of local research. So that is the public comment from our last meeting that we have on our agenda in front of us right now to discuss and for possible action.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Dr. Katrina, for the record. And so I just wanted to address the portions about the Nevada Statewide Conference and not being invited to present. So first, I want to thank Mr. Church for sharing his perspective and for his years of work in law enforcement and homeless services. So first of all, I just want to clarify that this is not a state of Nevada conference or a conference hosted by a state agency. It is a statewide conference and is hosted by Nevada Homeless Alliance with participation and welcome from individuals and organizations across Nevada and other states. So we agree that homelessness is complex and that conversations about behavioral health, substance use, treatment, public safety are important. And we also value hearing different perspectives at the Nevada Statewide Conference. However, including diverse perspectives does not mean that every individual or proposal is automatically included in the conference. So at Nevada Homeless Alliance, we have a conference planning committee made up of individuals with very professional and lived expertise. Each proposal is submitted through a formal process, independently reviewed and scored using a comprehensive rubric. The committee, as a group, considers alignment with the theme, relevance to the audience, and practical application, potential impact, and other criteria. And proposals that meet the scoring threshold are considered alongside available time, space, and overall balance. So I just want to say on behalf of Nevada Homeless Alliance, as part of this technical assistance committee, that we appreciate your comments, and then we'll share them with our conference planning committee. And we remain committed to offering thoughtful conference that encourages meaningful discussions and maintaining a fair and consistent process when selecting presentations. So I just wanted to make sure that the person that submitted the public comment knows that this is not a Nevada state conference by a state agency, and that all proposals that are submitted are scored by our conference planning committee. And that's how we make our final commissions when decisions when proposals are submitted. That's all I have.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Pam Janelle of Nevada Department of Education. I would like to respond to the public comment that was made by Mr. Church. And the perspective that I am bringing is that I had lived and worked in Washoe County for several years, where Dr. Church is from, or Mr. Church is from, and also had the opportunity to serve in the central office for Washoe County School District when he was part of the Washoe County School Board. So with relation to addressing homelessness, some of the things that I saw working in central office, the decisions that were made by and for Washoe County School District by the school board, some of which policies were either encouraged or proposed by Mr. Church, actually exacerbated homelessness for children and youth and students in Washoe County. And the reason that I'm mentioning that is because I wanted to provide a broader view of some of the views that were expressed, but then also some of the views that may not have been expressed that were diametrically opposed to some of the actions that were taken by this individual. So moving forward to today, I do appreciate these perspectives being added, but I did also want to be sure that I added additional information that is pertinent to the evolution of some of the perspectives that were expressed in the public comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Other discussion? Any other comments? Okay. Seeing none? Hearing none? I'll go ahead and close out this agenda item. We will go ahead and move on to agenda item number 5 for this discussion and possible action regarding recommendations from the 3 prioritized strategic issues work groups: housing, homeless prevention and intervention, and wraparound services. This is where our 3 working groups or work groups have an opportunity to report back on the work that they have been doing over the last month. I know we're in the midst of summer, so there's been a lot of vacations happening. There's a lot of work happening in the COCs, a lot of other things that are happening. So I don't know if anybody's had an opportunity to do much this last month, but if you have, and you've got report outs from your work groups, now's the time to do that. You have to unmute yourself if you're going to talk.
Sorry, this is Vevelin for the record. We were able to meet for the housing work group, and I think we also met for wraparound services prior to this meeting in the last week or so. So we basically, in the wraparound group, Joanna, Adrian, and I, we've been kind of working to make sure that we're not overlapping. So Joanna did want me to just ask for some clarity as it relates to the other work groups, if we had any timelines for the work group activities, and how the work that we're doing right now relates to the conversation about revising the current statewide strategic plan, or should we instead be focusing these activities for the next iteration of the strategic plan? And also just clarification on the role of the ICHH. Is there any of this that should be designed for them to do, or should we be carrying out this work plan within our committee and not bringing them into a later phase? Those are our basic questions that we had that we just wanted to kind of get some feedback from the other work groups if we could today. But in terms of our recommendations that we had come up with currently, they were just evaluating whether policy or legislative action is needed to address identified funding barriers and gaps, considering recommendations such as enhanced cross-sector funding coordination, formal resource grading policies, legislative proposals, or bill draft requests, and then making formal recommendations for inclusion in reports to the governor's office or a legislative council bureau. And I believe these notes got emailed out to everyone, but I know we've been receiving a lot of emails, so it might have just got caught up in the mix. But we did send those notes out as well from the last meeting, but that was for the housing work group. And I can go back and start over and break it down, simplify anything. I know I said a lot.
That was a lot, and I don't know if I can remember all of them to
Okay.
put them out for answers. So.
Okay. So I think I'll start with probably the first one that all the work groups are consistently wondering. What is the role of the ICHH in this? Is any of this work designed to them, or are these actions and activities in the work plan for us to be carrying out?
I think that is a great question, and I think that's where we help to identify those things, right? The things that get pushed back to or elevated to the ICHH on where we need their assistance, and the things that we can then take back out to the communities that we need assistance with, because we're kind of that, I guess, mediator, if you will, as the technical assistance committee, and knowing the strategic plan as we do. If there's somebody else that is in like a continuum or in a community that could do the work, we can absolutely reach out and say, this is on the plan. This is, what are you doing about this? Or is there something that we could do to assist you with this? But if it's something that needs to be elevated to the ICHH for their attention, then this is Michelle's opinion, but I would think it's our duty to elevate it to them.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to open that up to the rest of the group and get your opinion, but that's where I think.
Hi, committee. Brooke for the record. I just wanted to, appreciate the question and really wanting to understand kind of the purpose and role of our recommendations to Interagency Council. I mean, we've created a very robust work plan. There's a lot of information in there, and understanding who does what and where should the work lie in terms of informing it. I think that also, it's an important discussion. I think us proposing to Interagency Council as well to get their feedback about how they see this plan, that I think, going back to our charter and, the NRS statute that governs this work, I think we've done our due diligence with sort of addressing the work plan, action plan, and the strategic plan, but helping to inform it, moving it forward, ensuring that there's actual action happening to advance addressing homelessness across the state, to hopefully eliminate it. I mean, I think that it takes a collective effort. So I think, if our recommendation is to sort of help elevate, as Michelle said, the concerns and the issues to ICHH with some recommended action and ways in which they can leverage their leadership, their influence statewide, their relationships to help advance the action plan. I think it's important for us as leaders in the field, as folks who are closest to this issue, to ensure that we are, letting them know what needs to happen, what needs to change, and advancing that through the action plan. I think we have a unique opportunity to do that through this mechanism with the action plan. And so it's on us, I think, to sort of identify those opportunities and then sort of make those recommendations, and also update what we know based on our work and based on what we're seeing in the community, based on conversations, that we're updating this information so it's up, in real time. We're getting
Oh no, Dr. Janelle, for the record, did she freeze?
I think she did.
And it was getting so good too.
Can you hear me, Michelle?
There we go.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay off camera. I'm not sure what happened, but not sure but I just think that we should do our due diligence to try and advance the priorities of the action plan. So I'll just leave it there.
Thank you, Brooke. What was the next question?
Oh, just referencing, were there any timelines, or were we looking to prepare any timelines for any of the activities in the action plan? And that, I guess, we're kind of going to speak to in agenda item number 6, because when we reviewed the summary section, I know they had some timelines previously, but it kind of just fell off with whichever work group was working with the strategic plan at that time. So I guess we'll answer that question in the coming parts of the meeting.
Yeah, I think the timelines depends on what it is, right? I think there's various timelines for we've got our priority areas that we're really focused on, and then we've got, some other things that we just need to update that's happening in the communities, and then we need to update our strategic plan. So we need to start getting prepared for that to take place. So I think to your point of the next agenda item, when we go through and start updating some of the activities and where we are in progress, I think that might, I don't know if it will completely answer your question about timeline, but I think it might get at some of that.
Absolutely. Well, that's
And
about it for wraparound. I know, I don't know if Adrienne was able to even come on for a second. I don't know if she had any feedback, but that's where we are right now. Just had some questions that needed clarifying. We do have some questions prepared. I know we were all working on questions for the presenting agencies. I don't know if you wanted me to just run those off really quickly.
And just to
But
clarify, Bevan, you're speaking about housing working group, right?
yes,
You're
I'm
referencing
sorry.
agent.
I'm in,
Okay.
for clarification, everyone, I'm in all of the work groups. So if I say, if I mix them up, I apologize in advance.
Dr. Janelle?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Dr. Janelle, for the record. Thank you, Evelyn, for such a great overview of housing, and I see all of the wonderful notes. And I know that we whittled things down from the 8 strategic issues. And so my question is, because I'm an education person, how does education fit into each of these specific areas? Because there are 2 areas of education. There's, education for children and adults, and education about homelessness that is public facing. So those are the 2, things that I have to contend with. So I would love if, because I'm not on any work group, and I think that just happened to be incidental, to just kind of see where education fits in the space of each. But I would like to leave the floor open for the rest of our work groups to move forward so that I can continue to learn more from the work. Thank you.
Vevelin, for the record, I'm glad that you mentioned that public facing education, because that is what we need. It wasn't like I think one of those top 3 priority goals, but I'm always thinking about how this was the first public comment that I've heard since I've been on the council. So I'm excited that somebody spoke and said anything written or otherwise. But yeah, we do need that education. I don't think that people know where to look for the notices that are being placed a lot of times. Like the public who actually needs the help, I don't think that they know where to look. And that's where this strategic plan is coming into play, like which agencies are responsible for putting what information out to the public. But I think education is paramount to not just the 3 work groups, but this entire mission, because the public does need to know what's going on in a simplified. We got to be able to speak to them in a language that they understand, and I think that's where, in my personal opinion, that's definitely where education comes into play. So please stay, and if you ever want to join our work group meetings, I don't know if there's like a quorum issue, but please, if there's any, I will step out of one of the work groups. Please come into the fold. Come in.
No, stay in all of it. And Dr. Janelle, for the record, Evelyn, thank you very much for that. I do know that we did have one of those strategic issues that focused on that, and these 3 work groups are at the fore because of the group's decision, which I completely value. But then I will always kind of, just step my toe in. And I would just like to add, there's also an area of education where we need to make sure that we're removing bias. And I know that this group is very much at the forefront of that because of the work that we have been doing, and the members who are also here, and the members who have, sheltered this work and formed this work up to this point. So thank you for that. And I'm pretty sure I'll be reaching out to everyone just moving forward. So thank you very much for that.
All right. Thank you all for that. Was there anything additional for because Bevelyn, I think you were also speaking for wraparound services. Was there anything additional for wraparound services?
Yes, so I actually, very similar to what we were discussing just now. So we covered a lot of things, but I got some really good feedback from Chris as well, about our last meeting. And I guess, I don't know, Chris, if you wanted to share some of that feedback that you had in the email, or did you want me to speak on that?
This is Chris for the record. Either way, it's fine with me, Bevelyn. You can speak for me. Your voice is a little bit stronger than mine.
Okay. So yeah, excuse me, wraparound services, make sure I'm in the right meeting. We did have a meeting last week, and Chris gave us some feedback on just, I guess, some questions that we might have wanted some clarity on our end as well. So I'll share some of the information. And it was for the wraparound services highest priority goals. We kind of his feedback for the goal 3 objective 1, which is leveraging existing state resources such as Medicaid, managed care organizations, community health centers, behavioral health providers, and others to maximize opportunities for wraparound care. His feedback was certified community behavioral health clinics are required as part of their 9 core services to provide psychosocial rehabilitation, supportive employment, housing assistance, peer support, basic skills training, and family support services. Presently, we have 10 in the state, and questions for the council as well as any agencies that we can get feedback from. Are there similar requirements for federally qualified health centers? Is this not a requirement for HUD-funded COC housing programs? And what other agencies receive funding or can bill for wraparound services? So that's just for that objective. Those were just some questions that if anyone from the technical assistance committee had some feedback on, we could speak to that here, or we could kind of follow up and add those to our presentation questions. But I'll start there because there's a little more. So just wanting to, since Michelle, maybe you could speak to that. Is that also a requirement for HUD-funded COC housing programs, to provide those 9 core services, wraparound services? Would you know?
No, not for it's not a requirement to
Okay.
provide the 9 core services.
Okay. And so those other 2 are probably for another agency. Are there any similar requirements for the FQHCs? And what other agencies receive funding or can bill currently for these types of wraparound services? Those were just some general questions that we wanted. And another question regarding Goal 1's objective, which was to increase access to matching of funds from state agencies to the continuum of care providers to improve wraparound services. Chris's feedback was, I believe there was a state grants RFP released last year for agencies needing funding for matching federal grants. Are these funds still available? If anyone.
That
This
might
is-
be an Adrian question.
Okay.
So this is Dr. Katrina. I remember that instance. And so those matching funds were for agencies that were applying directly to federal organizations, not through like collaborative applicant, things like that, right? And so I went to a couple of their trainings and emailed them to get clarification. And so I think that is still an opportunity. I think I got a recent email about that. And maybe Adrian can speak more to that, but like in some of our processes, with HUD funding as homeless service providers, it goes through like a collaborative applicant process, and we're not able to tap into those funds for match unless we put the application in directly with the federal entity. So others may be.
Okay,
Some.
thank you for that feedback. Thank you.
Welcome.
And just last one, again, this is probably going to roll over
Wait a-
into the next agenda item. Oh,
Wait a
I'm
minute,
sorry.
Bevelyn, we've got some answers for you. So before you start rolling into next questions,
Thank you.
I've got an answer for you as well, but Adrian, go ahead and answer the question because a couple people have called you out.
I know. I'm here. So I think the answer about the matching funds, I suspect, is the account for affordable housing, which is designed as a home match for participating jurisdictions. So if there's additional matching funds that were advertised, I'd have to check in with the state and federal grants team. But as far as I know, it's the account for affordable housing that does like homeless prevention, rapid rehousing, that's designed to be that match. So if there's something else in addition to that, I'll need to find out, but I suspect that's what it is.
Okay, thank you. And Bevelyn, to go back to what you asked about the COC funding. So the COC doesn't have like those 9 requirements. However, COC funding can be used for certain wrap services. So there's a difference, right? It's not, certain things aren't required per se, but certain things can be used depending on how the application is written, what the project is, and what their budget, how their budget is developed. So some of those wrap services may be eligible for program participants. So it just depends, right? So it's not a blanket statement, but it's not all throwing it all out, but it's not all necessarily definitely eligible either. So it's kind of yes, no, maybe. Dr. Katrina, Dr. Katrina, that's just, I always mess up your last name, just like everybody messes up mine. So there we go.
Took me a couple years to get yours right. So Dr. Katrina, for the record, so it is the Governor's Office of Federal Assistance Grant Matching Fund Program. So it is a state program, and I don't think we can put links in here, but I could drop the link or email it to Abigail to share with everyone what that looks like. And so it was created in 2019, Assembly Bill 489, and it $1 million was appropriated in Senate Bill 528 in the 2019 session. So it is a state of Nevada governor's office thingy. And they have the people here, prior awardees as well. So can we drop something in the chat here, or should I just email it to Abigail? So in case anybody wants to learn more.
We cannot use the chat, but you can email it to Abigail and she can make sure that we get it.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, Bevelyn, you had some more questions.
Thank you, Dr. Katrina. Thank you so much. I just last one, like I said, is probably going to roll over into the next agenda item as well. Chris identified the need to update one of the items in our goal 2 objectives to reflect HUD's current housing priorities and remove rapid rehousing as a possible strategy. So I just wanted to share that with the entire technical assistance committee, that's something that was identified.
Thank you. I don't know that today's agenda item is necessarily to update the plan, update activities or strategies in the plan. It's really to update the status of where we are with the activities. And just for clarification, it's not that there's going away from rapid rehousing. It's there's just a change in the prioritization in the way funding is being, where funding is being targeted in the in the current or the most recent federal NOFO. It doesn't mean it's not a good housing strategy. And it doesn't mean that communities across the country should not continue to utilize rapid rehousing as a housing best practice, because there is nothing that I have seen that refutes that rapid rehousing is a best practice in assisting people who many folks that might need it. As I have said many times, nothing is a silver bullet for everybody. For exiting homelessness, it's matching the appropriate intervention with the needs of people who are experiencing homelessness. That's why we have assessment tools, and that's why we do prioritization. So just I'll get off my soapbox now. Brooke.
Thank you. Brooke for the record. And so I from this conversation, I'm hearing like a few questions that are brewing. And I'm wondering if there is a need for us to sort of make some recommendations to the Interagency Council about how to advance the action plan in order to gather the information that I think if we're having, the community may be having, to sort of inform the work. So, for example, part of the wraparound services, the goal 3, objective 1, there was an activity listed to conduct a comprehensive assessment of existing state resources, including the Medicaid program, managed care organizations, community health centers, behavioral health providers, and other relevant entities to identify strengths, gaps, and areas of improvement in delivering quality wraparound services. And I think some of the questions that the wraparound services work group had recommended would be to sort of ask Interagency Council to have presentations from us, like 2 or 3 key departments that we think could cover this particular activity, with 3 or 4 specific questions that we think would be really helpful to help inform this particular activity, give us maybe some intel where we could start tracking where eligibility criteria lives, or how someone in the community would navigate learning about these state agencies in terms of how they provide wraparound services, and start capturing that in the action plan. But just curious if that's something that we think would be helpful to help provide clarity even for our work, to start getting information from various different departments or entities that can sort of help make provide clarity around the action plan activities. So I'll just pose that as a question to get your thoughts on that.
Thank you, Brooke. I think you did a really great job of kind of synthesizing and bringing us back to focus on what our purpose is and what we really should be doing in our work groups. So I appreciate that. I think we all tend to um, lose focus. I know I sometimes get in the weeds of things and end up going askew. So I thank you for that.
Thanks, Michelle. I just asking a question. I mean, if everybody else agrees, we could maybe just kind of focus there, take one step at a time, and just start informing this so we can get the clarity I think we're all seeking.
So what's everybody else think? I think Brooke should lead the conversation around this.
You're doing a great job, Michelle.
Michelle, I'm gonna. what some of you don't know is Brooke and I've worked together for many moons. So, all right.
But does anybody have any concerns about that though? Like us just making a recommendation to start populating this information? We've got 5 questions I think we're requesting as the wraparound services work group that we would ask state agencies to come to the Interagency Council and present and answer these 5 questions.
I know, I think it's a great idea, Brooke. This is Arash for the record.
Thanks, Arash.
It's a succinct way of gaining clarity and purpose and not kind of, fumbling around a whole bunch. Just be efficient with our time. Otherwise, we'll spend 4 meetings trying to figure out things versus, being a little more efficient. So I like it.
Yeah, Brooke, have you been making a list of those questions?
Yeah, we have. I can read them off if it's helpful. So specific to wraparound services, we're wondering what wraparound services are currently funded and delivered through your system of care, what populations are prioritized, and who remains underserved in your programs, and where are the largest service gaps geographically, population, service type, who are care coordination and cross-sector referrals, how are they currently handled, and how does one get access to receive your services, and what existing assets should be scaled or replicated statewide, and essentially where is the money coming from to access those dollars, and is there resources to scale it? So those are kind of what we were thinking would help us get a clear understanding just in terms of how much of, let's just say it's a community behavioral health provider, and they come and they're able to sort of help us understand how a community member experiencing homelessness interfaces with them and gets access to their resources, and that's sort of like understanding that and getting clarity around these topics. And so maybe it's us asking the health authority to do a presentation on the Medicaid program, or is it us asking the behavioral health, public and behavioral health, to provide us clarity around the public and behavioral health and their services related to people experiencing homelessness, and just start populating that information. But this is specific to wraparound services.
Adrian.
Hey, this is Adrian for the record. The housing work group proposed some similar type survey questions where we would ask the ICH to identify or pass on these targeted questions to the person within their organization that would be most suited to answer. But it was very similar around what their prioritization for funding was, if they had significant gaps, or what their current sources for housing pipeline development were. So I think just trying to align in the request to the ICHH to try to, really align these 3 work groups with the methodology for gathering information.
Yeah, thank you for that, Adrian. And even though the prevention and intervention work group wasn't able to meet this last month because we weren't able to get a meeting on the calendar, those are some things that we had talked about previously as well, was where's the funding coming from, where are the funding gaps, and who, right? Who's being funded for the various types of activities for prevention and types of intervention. So I think same type of questions, right? The other 2 work groups are asking, maybe just in a slightly different manner. So I think it's the same type of conversation we even were having at our last meeting. So I think if we could as you said, Adrian, align the questions so that it would enable us to get the information we need moving forward. I think that would be helpful. And I also think this is Michelle's stream of consciousness going here, but as we think about our new strategic plan, maybe we don't need as robust of an action plan because there are so many intersecting things that have now found, right? As we are getting into the minutia and the nitty gritty of this action planning, that we think a bit more strategically for the future, for our new iteration of the plan, and be more purposeful, I guess, with the new plan. Just putting that out there. Evelyn.
Just to add, I think in our last meeting for prevention and intervention, we had discussed potentially approving a question list for the COC presentation. Would we need to add these other two work groups questions to that question list? Should we?
To the Google Sheets is that what you're referring to?
Yes, because I know we have our own set of questions that we were going to ask for that presentation, but would these questions also kind of align with, I know they're, like you said, there's similar questions that's kind of being asked in different ways. So should we kind of curate these questions to make sure they're not overlapping, but we're still getting all the information we need?
Well, I'm going to open that up to the group and see what folks think. But it's my first thought would be, not as your chair, but just as a general member of the group, would be that it would make sense that if we have duplicate questions, that we just combine them into something that we can take one package of questions to the ICHH to gather information. That makes more sense to me. But I'm going to open it up to the group and I'll put my chair hat back on and open it up to the group and let y'all have a discussion about that. Thoughts, comments? Nobody has any input in that.
Okay, well, let me give some background because because I don't know if we ever really discussed what we did in our meetings. So we decided that because we already have the connection, the COC or the three COCs, it would be easier to have them present to us first. And we came up with a set of questions that we wanted to present to them. And I think our plan was to kind of prepare a pre-presentation packet to send over to them so they would have time to, kind of get informed on what our questions are and then prepare their own answers for them. So I guess what I'm asking is, should we take the wraparound services and the housing services questions to that pre-presentation packet as well? Should we include those?
Oh, that's what you're asking. Okay, I thought you meant to the questions that we were sending to the ICHH for their presentations that they were or the information they were gathering from the state agencies.
Oh no, just for this one right here, should we take, see of the other maybe 10 to 12 questions that are out there between the other two work groups, if there are any relevant questions to bring to our presentation question list for the COC?
I guess the question I would have is that I don't want I would be cautious of not doing duplicate effort. Right. So I want to ensure that anything that the prevention and intervention work group is getting from COCs is not something that we're asking the ICHH to get, right? And if it's not, then that makes sense. It makes sense that we would gather the questions from the other two work groups that they would want from the COCs, and we could absolutely, I think, if we're meeting with COC leads, to go ahead and gather that information from them. That totally makes sense to me. But I also, like I said, I don't think it makes sense for us to duplicate effort if we're going to be gathering the same information from a COC that we're asking the ICHH to get presentations from.
Got it.
So, Brooke, for the record, I think it might be, if I can make a recommendation, because I think what you're saying, Bevelyn, and Adrian also mentioning the fact that we've got some consistency across the board in terms of information that we want to be able to gather, and maybe it makes sense for us to maybe have just like a presentation recommendation template that kind of compiles these themes into a set of suggested questions that we're proposing to anybody who we are gathering information from. And maybe we just have one standard kind of PowerPoint template that we're asking folks to come to us and helping us with information, answering these questions, providing background on their programs, maybe having links to websites or resources that we could get further information about programs. So if there's just like this kind of standardized list of things that we're asking for to make it easier on everyone, and those things could be emailed, as Adrian mentioned, and we're just maybe getting folks to, maybe they don't have to do a whole presentation, maybe they can just send back their completed questions and answers and resources. Or if there's a more robust program or something that we think would be important for us to get a presentation to ICHH, you know, maybe we can kind of decipher that. But it feels like having a standardized tool will help us maybe gather what we are all trying to gather across the working groups.
Hi, this is
Yes.
Arash. Sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute. But again, Brooke, another great idea.
Thanks, Arash.
I will
And
like to add to that, I'm sorry, Dr. Pam, for the record. We've used tools before to gather our information, and I think that is very smart. So I do second and third Brooke's suggestion as well as Arash's affirmation. Thank you.
yeah, hi, this is Arash again. Great affirmation. But at the expense of like understanding what it's like on the receiving end to get 100 of these requests, it's I don't know if this is a stupid question, but like, does this information exist anywhere already that's been recently compiled for some other reason? I don't think so, because these are very specific to relationship to some of these things, but I'm just asking just for the sake of it. But otherwise, I think Brooke's idea of standardizing a way to kind of not force, but to make sure that we're getting consistent information across different agencies and entities that we're asking of this information makes a lot of sense.
Brooke, for the record, I agree, Arash, for us not to duplicate effort as well. And so some due diligence. I know that like the Silver State plan, just like an improvement plan to improve behavioral health across the state is something that has recently rolled out to address behavioral health. So there's an intersection there. There may be a lot of these providers that we're asking for that might be informing that improvement plan. So it might be important for us to sort of understand, are there other action plans, strategic plans that intersect with addressing homelessness, that we may want to do our due diligence and just make sure that we're aware of those things and to see if there's opportunities to inform our work. And then if there's gaps, you know, get our questions answered. Yeah, I think sure, something we can ask, with that span of different plans, but it might be worth our time to just make sure we're doing our due diligence.
So next steps.
This is Chris for the record. I agree. I love the conversation. I would say I think it would be good to compile all the recommended questions together onto one list and send it out to all the working groups and see if so each working group has a chance to review it and see if there's additional questions that they would like to add. My thoughts.
I don't know if we can do that. Because of quorum issues. And I say that because of the information that came to me after our last meeting about sharing the spreadsheet that the intervention and prevention work or prevention and intervention work group had come up with. So I'm going to have to defer to the H2H team to see if that is something that we could do.
Yes, hi Michelle. We can accept all of the questions from the working groups. However, any actions must be done during your regular scheduled meeting. So we can compile all of it and then we can have it on the agenda and you guys can discuss and make a vote on if there's any action that's needed for it.
So you can't distribute it to everybody for them to discuss at their work groups, but they could compile different lists and send them all to you, and then you could compile a list for us to discuss at our next meeting.
That is correct.
Or if you took good notes at this meeting, you have a list of the questions that the that the wraparound services group has. And you could take that to your meeting and add to it. Just saying.
And those questions were just for us. We have some other questions, but like Adrian said, they were like so aligned with everybody else's questions. I just didn't even put them out there because I know that we are all kind of asking the same intro questions. But I think a good question to add would be, does your organization have a strategic plan or strategic action plan or framework that you're currently working from? Because most likely if they do, they're also more likely to buy into the braiding recommendation that we have, because that's something that's probably already in their framework or strategic action plan to do. They also are probably just overwhelmed with the depth of their action plan.
Right. So what is our next step? This is an action item, so we can take a vote if we need to, or we can just come to consensus. But what are our next steps? We're going to compile a list of questions, send to the ICHH. Their next meeting is when? In September? Is it after our next meeting?
That is correct. September 17th is their meeting.
And our next meeting is September 15th.
TA, yes, the 15th.
So it's 2 days before theirs. Adrian.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you. This is Adrian for the record. Is it possible that we could get something on their agenda that just previews that we are asking for point of contact that we would then be able to reach out to in regards to some specific questions and information gathering around like some of these broader topics? So that way we have a little bit more time to come up with our specific questions, but then the larger ICHH group can provide us some feedback with like who would be the right people for us to reach out to or to invite to present to our TA group.
Hi, Adrian, Brooke for the record. I just wanted to clarify what you're saying. So you're requesting that we make a recommendation to ICHH for a list of names that we then, the ICHH TA work group outreaches to? Or is it that we just want to kind of understand who's the sphere of influence that we would want to get information from to answer these questions?
So I think I think in the interest of time to try to get some of these questions answered, because if we can't present our list of questions until like a December meeting, then we may not be able to get any potential responses until, I don't know how it works. I think they meet quarterly, right? So that's, I'm wondering if we can potentially outreach to people they designate at their next September meeting. If we say, these are the types of information that we're looking for, could you, identify somebody? I think it could be, I think we could gather the information in a variety of ways, but if there's a way to not be delayed, given, needing to get something on their agenda and then have like a fully baked plan to present to them, if we could just present like some more generalized information and try to work in the interim.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great idea. And I'm wondering, to your point, do we go to ICHH with this skeleton of kind of what it is we're wanting to achieve with these questions, the strategy and the plan, and requesting that ICHH give us the kind of, I don't know, joint letterhead or some sort of like support with outreaching to these various different departments through email communication or some sort of like collective request on their behalf to gather information or something like that. That way, in between ICHH meetings, information could be gathered, and we're building on and you know, collecting in between meetings even, but sort of have like this email template of some sorts that has the committee members and their roles and like a request to these departments and agencies for information. Does
Yeah,
that seem like it aligns, Adrian? Sorry.
Yes, thank you.
if I may, Michelle Fuller-Hallauer for the record. I really, really, really like that idea. I think that if we could get like an intro or letter or a directive memo from the ICHH saying that we as the TA are acting on their behalf to gather information, right, to these state agencies or to whatever, that, and that's kind of, we add that as whatever in the email or in whatever we send out, then it kind of hopefully would open some doors for folks to be willing to give us the time, right, to give us the information that we're asking, and make it easier for us to collect what we need. And to your point, Brooke, I think that rather than us having to have the questions fully collected and formalized in the way we're going to ask them, maybe it's just generally, these are the things we're looking for, or this is why we're looking for it, this is what our intended use is, what our goal is for this. Can you give us your blessing and a directive kind of memo to move forward and help us open the doors? Yeah, I love that idea. I think it's a great idea.
Great. Adrian's idea. I just talked it there.
Thank you for that, Brooke. This is Adrian. I do think that we should present or draft some sort of template for the ICHH to review and or refine, that sort of gets to what we're hoping they'll sign off on, for their, review and action and, changes, versus just requesting like a letter of support or something. So I don't know if that's something that we can get drafted and then actioned on their agenda for September.
So Brooke, for the record, when we've done this in the past, we've used a working group to help us kind of develop this concept or recommendation memo, and then brought that to this committee for review and approval, and then kind of added that to an agenda item for ICHH to consider. I think with the timing of our meeting being 2 days before their meeting, I'm not sure if that's enough time to agendize, but I'm wondering if we do a motion on our committee to give us, to give a working group the ability to develop like this structure and template for them to consider, and then get approval via email before they're agendized. deadline or something for us to be able to expedite this, I guess, to get on their agenda? Abigail, do you have any thoughts about that, or kind of how we could inform a recommendation for ICHH's agenda? Or we already should have a standing, do we have a standing agenda item on their agenda that we could just let this be the topic that we bring forward?
That is correct, Brooke. You have, or you are actually under agenda item number 4. It's a standing agenda item for TA to provide updates regarding the action plan to the strategic plan.
This is Adrienne. Is that for information only, or is that a potential action?
It's for potential action.
Okay.
Okay, great. So then we don't have to really rush. We can have a working group meeting, come up with some recommendations, and then present at this our committee's next meeting what we would like to present to ICHH at their meeting.
I think that's fabulous.
So the question is, who wants to be on the committee? Help figure this out.
I do think this is Adrienne. I do think there should be representation from the other, like we have 3 working group committees. So I think that one person from each of those groups should be on this other one to make sure that they're all represented, and or Vevlin just
Bevelyn's
I
on
was
all
already
gonna say
doing
3
all
of them,
Bevelyn.
3, so
I'm growing another tentacle as we speak.
And I will hang in for education if you need me.
I did hear Dr. Pam say that she wished she could be a part of a working group earlier.
Adrienne, you speak Pam. Just email me. I got you.
She doesn't have enough to do, so she's just clamoring for more work.
I know. I was like, I'm just waiting on everything to come through with my clone. All right, Dr. Janelle out. I'm gonna get back onto the official business of the record. Thank you so much, everyone. You're awesome. It's always a pleasure to work with everyone.
Okay, so
right.
I hear Vevlin, Michelle, as
You heard
are you?
Bevelyn?
Yeah, is that our Vevlin? Are you able to be on this working group?
Sure. Just show me where I should be and I'll be there. Let me know. I'm open.
Okay, who else? Did I hear Dr. Pam, or was she was that a yeah, thanks, no thanks?
Dr. Pam Janelle, for the record, I will work with the work group just to help with representation across the 3 as well in terms of education. Thank you. Madam Chairwoman, Dr. Janelle, for the record, don't threaten me with a good time. Thank you.
Who else is going to be on this work group to put together this memo and this template, this draft template for the ICHH?
Crickets.
Hi, this is Adrienne for the record. I do not think I can commit to being on this work group. I will, however, commit to sending some proposed questions or, comments in support of this letter via email to whoever.
For the record, I second that.
This is Arash. I'm happy to review something, but unfortunately, I can't commit to being on it. Sorry.
If somebody else can schedule it, I'll be on the work group. But don't ask me to schedule it, or it won't happen. I'm just being honest. So if I can get help with scheduling it, I'll be on it.
I can, Bevelin, for the record, I can help with scheduling. I don't mind.
Okay. That's why I now have electronic scheduling for folks to schedule things on my calendar. All right. So it looks like we've got Vevelin, me, Dr. Pam. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I will make contributions. Like if you send me stuff, I'll definitely make contributions since I'm not on any of the other work groups, just to make sure that I'm supporting the work moving forward. Thank
We're
you.
not talking about the other work groups, Dr. Pam. We're talking about a work group for
yes, for the memo. Yes.
For the
I got it.
ICHH.
Oh yeah, we're brilliant people, so this isn't going to be that hard.
Right.
As a compliment to all of us. Thank you.
Okay. So I think anything else on this agenda item? We good? Can we move on?
Please.
All right. Let's put this agenda item to bed. All right. So with that, I'm going to close agenda item number 5, and we will move on to agenda item number 6, which it says it's a short one, but this is going to be actually a lot, probably be a long agenda item number, a long agenda item. The agenda item number 6, for information only, a review of the summary section of ICHH Strategic Action Plan. Although in order to review the summary section, we actually have to review the actual agenda or the actual action plan itself. So, the way this is set up, the summary section actually auto-populates from the rest of the action plan. And we also have, strategic priorities that we are working on. So our purpose really today is to establish the most current picture that we can of our progress on the strategic action plan. So I'm thinking that with the 3 priority areas, it gives us that, I think if my math and memory is correct, it gives us 19 priority activities. So I'm thinking that if we look at those activities under the priority goals, right, and then do a rapid pass through the rest and just identify confidently those things that we can assign status. Do we know if things have been completed or near complete, if they're in progress, or if they're not, if they're, nothing's happened with them yet, right? If they're what's it called? Not completed, I think is, yeah, planned, if they're planned for the future, right? Or we just leave them blank. So that's my thought about how we tackle this arduous task. Because otherwise we have like 200 and some activities, which will take us way more than the rest of the time that we have here. So we good with that?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so with that, let's start with housing. Housing goal 4, which is, I think that is one of our top priority areas. So develop a statewide affordable housing dashboard that lives at the state. What is our status with that? And whoever's on our screen here with our thing, can you go to the housing tab? Yeah, there you go. Or at the first one. Over on the status, in your status thing, you should have a drop down that will allow you to give us our status. Yep, so Dr. Janelle, did I see your hand raised?
Yes, and Dr. Janelle, for the record, I would like to propose, because we have the workforce, education and workforce development component, I'm just asking the group what your opinion would be. Could we just add an education and or workforce development component to each of the other, strategic issues? And then that way it folds into all of them. What do you all think? Because then that way it's not necessarily separate, but it's incorporated across all of them. Please advise.
Well, we are going to look at the actions that are under education and workforce as we go through the plan.
Okay.
For updates. And I don't know that today is the time for us to make adjustments to the plan.
That's fine.
It's
okay.
For us to do just kind of where we are with progress to the plan.
Okay.
As it is, so that we can then identify kind of where we are for making progress to the plan. But I think that's a good thought. I don't want to miss that thought, because I think that's a good thought for us to keep in mind as we are start thinking about the next iteration of our strategic plan. So I want to make note of that and make sure that we keep that in mind, that education, both internal and external education, might be an underlying theme across all things for us to have a really good conversation about that.
Message received, Madam Chair, and I agree and concur. Thank you so much. And I appreciate the group for your open-mindedness about that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
It just helps us do our work more holistically, and I believe it will also save time. But we can definitely discuss that another time, because I know it's embedded into the transcript and the record. So thank you very much.
No, thank you for bringing that up. And I think there might be other places where, we want to start thinking about where are things more holistically ingrained, that we separated things where they didn't necessarily need to be separated, and we just need to fold things in a bit better than we have in the past.
Agreed. It's all about evolution. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, committee.
Okay, so back to where we are. Develop a statewide affordable housing dashboard that lives on the state's website. Blah, blah. We know that's not complete, but what's that status on that? This is housing. So I'm going to kind of lean into our housing work group.
This is this is Adrian. So Joanna Vevlin and I met back in May for our initial housing work group and misunderstood the assignment. But what we did do was start to kind of update where we thought we were in some of these things currently, and what actions or progress has been taken. So I do have some notes on some of the goals here for the housing work group. We noted that the lead department for the affordable housing dashboard would be the Nevada Housing Division, and we would need local jurisdictions to collaborate. The current housing NV housing search website is what we're currently using as inventory and tracking affordable housing units, but it certainly does not show like real-time vacancies, and we don't currently have a good system to streamline in managing a live dashboard with buy-in from all of the individuals that would need to participate. So I think right now, just speaking from the state perspective, we're looking at how we could improve the NV housing search, but I'm not sure that a live vacancy rate real-time dashboard is something that's been making much progress without additional capacity and partnerships with everyone kind of bought into the same goal.
Okay, so would you say that it is planned for the future, it's in progress, just leave it as no status?
I mean, I think it's still a goal, but I don't think that there's been any actual progress made on this item.
Okay, so should we just, is it planned, do you think planned for the next year, or do we just leave it blank?
I think for right now, I would want to leave it blank, and I think we would need to have some more targeted conversations with developers and local partners to try to align on whether this is a shared vision and goal that we would even want to pursue.
Okay. Okay. What about developing a multi-sector housing plan for Nevada that includes a plan on addressing homelessness with housing and holds businesses accountable to contributing to the housing ecosystem of the communities?
Thank you, Adrian. For the record, we noted that the ICHH, the governor's office, would be the lead department. Collaborating departments would be GOED, RTC, potentially the city of Las Vegas and their 100-year plan. We noted the next step would be a memo from the ICHH to the governor's office requesting coordination across state housing plans. Which I think is something that we could request, but has not made any action outside of what was discussed today in the new working group.
Okay. So would
This
you
is Brooke
say
for the
this is,
record.
go ahead, Brooke.
Can I ask a question? I mean, I just think that's such a powerful recommendation. That is it possible for us to sort of be capturing these asks to ICHH for their September meeting as well? Like, I know we're updating this, but if there's things with these are our top priorities. If there's things outside of the presentations that we're also asking for updates and understanding, but this feels like a very actionable activity that ICHH can discuss and make some sort of as a discussion topic for them to consider at a meeting, right? So I'm wondering how we leverage things that can be done also in the immediate future.
I think that's a great call out, Brooke.
So in our, this is Adrian, in our working group notes, we identified that we would love to propose consolidating into one single statewide plan that incorporates other local plans led by the governor's office, but that building consensus and analysis of the plan's election year cycles could be considerations for not moving this work forward. I do think, though, that we could certainly, request the, sort of a targeted approach to requesting coordination of state housing plans, like an executive order, if you will. We could ask for it. I don't know what they'll say, but
For the record, I think we should bring this for a discussion with that lens that you just articulated, Adrian. And if there's a way for us to figure out how this can be palatable for a governor's administration to prioritize this kind of activity, what would it need to have? Like, what are the, collaboration amongst local jurisdictions, state agencies, or other jurisdictions that can help inform a statewide plan to address homelessness? Like, is that something that the governor would buy into? Like, I think that's a discussion, and like, how do
right.
we create that space for ICHH to feel comfortable engaging in that conversation with the governor's office?
Mhm. We could certainly raise it and request that they discuss it. I think given the current election cycle, they may not, I don't know how they'll feel about it, but we could certainly ask if they consider it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Adrian, do you have your the recommendations from the work group as they pertain to the action plan written?
Yes.
Okay, so you could send them so we can literally fill them in, because I'm like frantically trying to type some stuff here. But
yes. Would you? How would you like me to send those to Abigail or to you?
both. If you could send them to both of us, that would be great.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. So would you identify this then in progress?
I think it is now. Yeah.
Okay.
Love making progress.
Awesome. Yeah, and then to I think to both yours and Brooke's point, I think that maybe we highlight this as an item that we keep an eye on, right? Or that we keep working toward with the ICHH as an action, right? That we keep bringing that forward to them or working toward bringing it in front of them. So I'm going to identify at least on the plan that's in front of me with a trigger that these are some things we want to make sure we bring back forward. So if anybody identifies as we're moving forward, hey, there's something here that we can bring to the ICHH, let me know and I will target it on my copy. Okay, the next one, utilize multi-sector housing plan as a tool. I'm not going to read the whole thing because y'all kind of know what that one is. Where are we at?
This
Plan
is
in progress, completed, nearly completed.
I would say in progress. I think there's a lot of housing education that's occurring. I think that there's certainly more that can be done, and I think that we can leverage some of our partners potentially to help convene elected officials. It's also coming into conference season, which typically elected officials or their staff attend. So I think that that's all part of it.
Okay.
So I would say in progress.
Okay.
So for this one, just for clarification, is this one predicated on number 2 being created, or is it just general? Are we saying education general is about like affordable housing, addressing homelessness is happening generally, so it's in progress? Or is this specifically wanting an actual plan that's baked and we're using that to socialize and educate elected officials with?
Dr. Janelle, for the record, thank you for asking that. And that was one of the reasons why I asked about education being a part of all of them, because depending on the focal area or what we're trying to do through these action plans, education is going to look, hit and fit differently.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is where we as a team and a group with all of the great inputs that we are developing here, we can actually decide what, part of education will look like based on the strategic issue. Thank you. That's all I'm going to say. Because some is public facing, some is education for, education with, education to. So depending on what it is, that's what the education will look like.
Very true.
I know, I'm sorry, that was a lot. Crickets, and I'm out.
So thank you. So back to back to Brooke's question. So is the actual housing plan used or tool from the plan used to educate?
This is Adrienne. So I think the way that it's written, it is predicated on the development of one plan for Nevada. But given we do not have that, I think we've just been trying to leverage other housing plans that are in place in the education piece, even though they're not all aligned. So I think, housing homelessness education is happening, but it's not technically using this multi-sector housing plan because it's not been created yet. So then maybe we would want to change that to not started.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, I would agree with that because that would be a decision that we as the team would need to make as to how, once again, education would look, hit, and fit. Plus, the data that we need to compile.
This is Adrienne. I'm sorry, I have to run out to the car because that's where my computer charger is and it's about to die. So I apologize. I have to step away.
Okay. So is that a planned activity for next year, or do we leave that one blank?
Dr. Janelle, for the record, I think we should leave it blank. However, because this work is evolving, as the pieces come together, that's where we can still, move forward with it. It's not like we're completely abandoning it. So I would love to hear what other group members think with regards to that.
For the record, I think that to Adrienne's initial interpretation, there's things happening. People are getting educated, but I think the power of what a multi-sector plan can do is to be leveraging all of these other spheres of influence, the business sector, the housing sector, the homelessness sector, to really be in alignment with the plan. So I don't want to dilute the importance of what I think it's asking for, this multi-sector housing plan. So until it's actually created, I think we should say it's not done yet. And then we use that to really be the teeth to what I think it's intending to do.
So we leave it blank.
I agree with Brooke. Dr. Janelle, for the record, I agree with Brooke. Very well said. I love how you speak, Pam. Thank you.
So back to my question, do we leave it blank, or do we put it in for planned for next year?
I would say blank.
Okay. So whoever is manning this, just delete Just do a delete. Click on the cell and there you go. Okay. Okay. Support the Nevada Housing Coalition with building the capacity of everybody. Where are we? Progress.
Oh, sorry, this is Adrian was speaking, huh? Well, Evelyn, for the record, I will leave that blank only because this was one of those things that was a question as to where does the ICHH fall into this ask?
Okay. Identify gap financing for operating resources for deeply affordable housing.
Planned for 2026, 2027.
Planned? Okay.
Yes.
Identify bonus incentives to increase the production of deeply affordable housing.
Another one, leave it blank. That's another one of those things that.
Okay. And then let's jump to homeless prevention. Prioritize the most vulnerable and ensure assessors are having real conversations about problem solving and alternative solutions.
Evelyn, for the record, we don't have is this our prevention and intervention work group?
This is.
Okay.
This is our prevention and
Okay,
intervention
thank you.
work group. Prioritize the most vulnerable and ensure assessors are having real conversations about problem solving and alternative solutions because the queue is very competitive. Not all persons facing eviction will become homeless. Quite honestly, I don't know that we've done a whole lot at our level, and I don't honestly know, I can't honestly speak to where everybody is across the state.
So should we leave that blank for now? Dr. Janelle, for the record.
I'm thinking probably.
Okay.
Ensure funds are targeted as possible, or as targeted as possible. Direct outcomes are more likely with rapid rehousing when someone is seeking shelter.
Oh, that's a tough one because just 2 weeks ago, the federal government allowed for McKinney-Vento funding to be used for hotel, motel stays and temporary emergency shelter. So I would say at this point that would be in progress, but in terms of uh, the vantage point of this group, I would like for everyone else to weigh in on that because this was literally as recent as 2 weeks ago. Thank you.
I think that's one of the things we're trying to do with the list and getting questions answered, but I don't know that we've necessarily made any inroads in that. I think we're just trying to collect information at the moment. So I don't know.
Okay.
if we can truly say in progress yet, or if we say planned.
I think this is probably the activity that we're most in progress on because we formed our whole like framework of what we're trying to do with the presentations around this. That's what that was our first step, like phase one in this activity.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. And then going further back with the RBY money, we were able to use that funding for hotel motel stays until it was completely liquidated and dissolved by the federal government in March of this year. So I would say that was in progress, and we can also incorporate that into the prevention and intervention work plan as well for part of that presentation. So I'm willing to help with that. Thank you.
Okay, so everybody good with us marking that one as in progress? Okay. Target data-driven areas of assistance redlining.
I think that one should be left blank. I don't think we had moved forward in discussing that one yet.
No,
in our work group at least.
Yeah. All frontline workers should be trained on housing problem solving and diversion conversations. I know that hasn't
Dr.
happened
Janelle.
in rurals.
Oh. Well, I was going to say, Dr. Janelle, for the record, I've attended some of the trainings that RNCOC has put on, so I don't know.
Yeah, I know we haven't done housing problem solving and diversion conversations yet.
Okay. Then I will defer to Madam Chairwoman, who is also overseeing RNCOC on that one. Thank you.
I don't know what's happening in the other two COCs around that. More efficiency and consistency in assessments.
Michelle, can I just pause? This is Adrienne. On the discussion with the 3 COCs, is that something that we could request to engage with them on? I know we had talked about, identifying any call to action as we're reviewing this, and I think that's one where we could, I think there's already plans to talk with the 3 COCs, so we could add that as a topic to see if that's something that they'd be willing to engage on or even had interest in aligning on.
I think that's a great idea.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, I remember back in the days when I was a youngin' on this group, we did actually have the COCs make presentations to this particular group. So I was going to actually propose that again. So great minds think alike, and thank you for that reiteration of that again, Adrienne. Appreciate it.
Okay. Let's jump to wraparound services goal 3, because that is our third priority.
So I would say this is activity 1 around the conducting a comprehensive assessment. I think that to me is in progress because we are wanting to develop a template that we're asking different agencies to help us inform.
Okay.
Engaging key stakeholders, including state agencies, in progress. Establishing strategic partnerships and collaborations is gotta also be in progress.
Agreed.
Reviewing existing policies and regulations related to Medicaid. I think this one is probably a 2027 action item. Providing training and capacity building initiatives for healthcare providers sounds like a 2027 activity. Developing mechanisms for integrating data across state agencies. I'm gonna say blank. I don't know about that.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, I do know that some of us here on this group, we have performed studies and published them. So I don't know. I would say that would be in progress because I do know that NPHY completed the Youth Experiencing Homelessness study, and I just got a McKinney-Vento report published literally as of like 2 months ago. So I don't know, but I would love to hear other voices on that.
And
Just
how
trying to
we
help us out.
tracking the
Michelle,
outcomes of that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
Michelle Fuller-Hellauer for the record. If I remember correctly, this was more about integrating data across
Got it.
agencies, not just collecting and writing a report. So it's really how are we
Okay.
collecting the data
And
and
how are we
tracking
using
outcomes
it?
and measuring performance and evaluating across all of our systems collectively.
Thank you for that. That really helps, that clarification.
Any other thoughts on that? I think it's blank at the moment. Exploring payment reform strategies such as value-based payment models. I think that's something that could be explored in 2027. And then conduct outreach and education efforts to raise awareness. Also think that it feels like a 2027, but we'll have any thoughts on that?
That's for me, that last one, that's where I have so many notes that I've written down, Dr. Janelle. I hope you don't mind me emailing you. I just really would like to collaborate with you on a few things. But that's one of those things that I think we would definitely need some support.
That's totally fine. I'm here for it.
Okay. So those are the top 3 priorities. In the interest of time, is there anything in housing that we know is either that's planned for 2026 or in progress or completed that we want to identify? In goal 2, goal 3, anybody? I'm not going to read them all individually, but does anybody know of anything else happening in our other goals in housing that we need to mark as complete, in progress, or planned?
Bevelin, for the record, in terms of the work group, no, everything else
It
is
doesn't have to just be the work group. It could be
okay.
anywhere across the state that we know is in progress or planned or completed.
Hi, this is Arash for the record. I'm not sure if this is relevant to this, but um, MPHY and some of the COCs and other partners are going to be in the movement are going to be embarking on creating, the statewide plan around addressing and ending youth homelessness, which will have obviously housing recommendations and other components that relate to some of this. So I'm not sure to what extent it's appropriate to bring that up, but just in case.
Dr. Janelle, for the record, I agree and concur. It's very relevant.
Brooke, for the record, activity, we'll go for activity 2. There is a proposal actually that's being considered by the Housing Coalition to address source of income discrimination. So that's in progress.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
Goal
4, I'm sorry, goal 2, activity 2 for under housing.
Recommend policy changes and source of income discrimination.
Yes.
And you said that's in progress?
Yeah, there's a bill draft. There's a bill recommendation that's being considered for that.
Okay.
I would also like to add the 0 to 3 group, NDE, did land a grant from the Thrive from the Start. And we are drafting a state action plan to help pregnant parenting individuals who are experiencing housing insecurity to work with legislators to update specific legislation and statute with regards to not only including veterans and elderly as far as like housing supports, but for pregnant parenting and expectant parents who are experiencing housing insecurity. So I believe that goes along the same line of being in progress as well.
So which item is that?
I believe that is the housing two, unless it fits somewhere else. My
Goal
apologies, y'all.
two, goal two, item
I
two?
believe so. I believe so. It's hard to see on the screen. I apologize. Or actually, for prioritizes development of supported housing that targets access to housing for specific populations. So if you go down two more in
Okay.
progress, it's number 4. Thank you. And thank you all for your patience. I'm wearing glasses and I'm still blind as a bat.
Thank you for that. Anything else in housing that's completed, in progress, or planned?
I think for goal 2, activity 4, under the leadership of the Nevada Housing Division, there is the Nevada Supportive Housing Development account that is specifically targeted for this goal. So I would say in progress.
Okay.
And if we could pair goal 2, activity 6 with Adrian's memo recommendation to the governor's office, that'd be great.
Snaps on that one.
So we'll put in progress for that one. Okay. Any other ones? Completed, in progress, or planned under housing? Move on to homeless prevention. So under goal, we already went through goal 1, so goal 2, goal 3, goal 4, same thing. Not going to go through them individually, but under them, any of these items that we know that are completed, in progress, or planned for the next year.
I'm Dr. Janelle for the record. I see under goal 4, there's like specific campaigns. And so I was wondering, could we make that more broad or should it matter? And I'm kind of asking that question to the group because there have been like tools and platforms created that aren't listed here. So I'm just kind of asking for a friend, or should we just add to the list? Does that make sense? I'm going to be quiet so I can hear what others have to say and get your feedback.
Can you repeat the first part of that question? I think I missed part of what you were asking.
And
Okay.
provide an example, please.
Okay, so for example, 1, 2, 3, and I think it's like 3 twice. It says expand and promote Project Homeless Connect events. So my question is should that be made more broad, or do we want to keep it specifically tied to that particular entity? And that's for all of them. Because as far as like developing a statewide awareness campaign just using 211, there are other tools and platforms. Question is, should we make that more broad or just add to the list? Does that help?
This is Adrian. I think I understand what you're saying. So instead of specifically calling out Project Homeless Connect, we just say expand and promote community events that, share information on preventing homelessness.
Yes, and the only reason I asked that is because we do have representatives from different organizations here. But this may be very exclusionary where a lot of us are like doing some of the same work, and I think it all needs to be highlighted so that we actually create that, remove those silos. So that's all I'm going to say, and then I'm just going to back up and let our group do what we do.
This is Adrian. I think that I think it could go either way. I do think that we should capture the other events. I think it's been a while since we've really looked at some of these specific activities. And so I do think that we should expand to capture other, things that are happening, like activities that are happening in this objective.
I agree. And that's where I would also move that the status would be in progress because if we broaden it, it is happening, but it just, there are some things that could also be placed for 2026, 2027 in light of the work that is continuously being done because we haven't stopped doing the work. It's just, honing in on like, who's doing the work and what those partnerships look like now versus when we are initially developed this particular instrument. Thank you. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point and something for us to consider in our next iteration of the plan is that calling out specificity for certain things makes sense and sometimes it might not, right? And so there's some things like a temperature check that we might need to go through as we develop our new plan, right? And what actually gets called out in a plan and what doesn't. So I think those are some things for us to keep in mind. But again, we are doing a status update right now rather than an update to what's actually in the plan. Brooke?
Thank you, but for the record, I would just caution that the need for specificity here, I think, is important. And if there's other activities that we want to be specific about, that we want to be explicit, whether it be, a Northern Nevada Project Homeless Connect type of activity or rural specific activity, the goal here objectively is to ensure that we're promoting outreach and education opportunities to the public to create awareness of resources to prevent homelessness. So if that is something specific that we're trying to educate on, I think, if this list is 3 pages long, because there's all these different opportunities for us to educate the public, like I think it would be good to just know that and maybe just capture in this action plan the things that we need to all be aware of that address this objective is kind of how I'm reading it. But I think sometimes us being too broad makes it seem like things are happening or don't know things are happening or don't know the thing, and we're trying to get to the granular like specificity of what it is that we really need to understand and educate about.
I agree. Something that we can definitely approach in our next iteration, just so that we can save time here. Thank you very much. That input is just very powerful. Thank you all.
Adrian?
Hi, Adrian here. I do think that this is meant to be a living document. And so I think for like purposes of, future agendas, we should keep on the agenda every meeting, like some sort of review and discussion on some of these goals so that we don't have to do the whole thing in one meeting, but we're doing, maybe 30 minutes in every meeting. That way we're just constantly keeping it top of mind. I know that we are working on, potentially starting a new strategic plan, but I do just want to be mindful that that this is something I think we could be reviewing and updating at every meeting, at least not in part anyway.
Great idea. Thank you for that, Adrian.
And Adrian, I agree with you. We recently just got authority to, I think, know our role related to this action plan and kind of understanding like is it us? Is it ICHH? So I totally agree with you. And now us sort of having, maybe we only do one topic at a meeting, like we focus on just housing or prevention or something, because it is a lot. But now that we know, what is it, what do we want as a TA working group that makes sense for us and our time and attention span to be able to work on this now that we've got direction from ICHH?
Yeah. This is Adrian.
Agreed. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, please, Adrian.
I was just going to comment. I do think that we should sort of make some sort of internal decision on proposed legislation versus, I think going into the legislative cycle, there's going to be a lot of BDRs proposed. And so whether we wait and call that in progress until it gets, picked up by committee or whatever it's sponsored or whatever like the process is, I just want to be mindful that we're not sharing on this. I'm not sure if this is a public facing document that like, oh, this is in progress because we've, proposed or somebody has proposed source of income, but it's not necessarily across the finish line yet.
This is internal, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
But this is a public meeting, so if it gets
True.
shown on the screen, anybody who is, viewing the meeting has access to, viewing the screen.
Avert your eyes. No, just kidding. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the input.
Okay, so I want to be mindful of time. It is almost it's 17 after. Our meeting is scheduled until 3:30. The purpose of this meeting or this agenda item was for us to update the where we were on our overarching, so we could get the summary update, so we could give an update, have an overarching update on our plan for what we are going to present to folks at the statewide conference, which we need to talk about at our next agenda item. So I just want to pause here for a second to take stock, because I want to figure out where we're going with the rest of our time. I'm wondering if, because we do have one more meeting before the statewide conference, if we pause here, put this agenda item back on, continue with the rest of the perusal of the overarching where we are on our next agenda, at our next meeting. And we continue with our action items or the rest of our agenda, because we do have a report back from the work group for the planning for the conference. And then just a couple of housekeeping, our regular standing housekeeping items for the rest of this meeting. So finish up this meeting, and then come back and complete this activity at our next meeting. That's what I'm proposing, but I'm open to other suggestions.
This is Brooke. I would move that recommendation.
So if I'm not hearing any counter argument to that, then I'm going to go ahead and we don't need to vote on any of this. So I'm going to go ahead and close this agenda item, and let's go ahead and let's just take a quick look at our summary page, what our summary page looks like. So if you click on summary, what we're looking like. So if you could just scroll on up. So what is happening is we are getting populated from our updates on our summary page that kind of shows us where we are. So this shows us, even with color coding, right, where we are, how we're doing with our updates so far. So as we continue to update, we'll get some updates for the rest of the plan. So we good?
Good job, committee.
Good job. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to, let's close out agenda item. Thanks H2H team. Appreciate your help. Let's close agenda item number 6, and let's move on to agenda item number 7 for possible action. Discussion and possible action regarding the report from the conference subcommittee. The report will include plans for upcoming Nevada Homeless Alliance Conference, such as proposed activities, assigned responsibilities, and next steps. The conference subcommittee composed of Arash, Katrina, and myself. Arash, Katrina, do either one of you want to give a report back, or do you want me to jump in?
Real quick, this is Julie for the record. Dr. Katrina had to hop off.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Um,
Arash, do you want to give a report back, or do you want me to do it?
well, I feel bad, so I'll try to jump in, but I'll admit that I was about 10-15 minutes late to the meeting, but I still tried to contribute as much as I could. But essentially, we're really trying to draw a fine line between engaging the participants at the statewide conference, the NHA conference, around, basically how we can further the statewide plan, especially this next iteration of it. So we wanted to draw a balance between asking questions that would help us inform the direction and the shape and type of plan that we want to update around, without overwhelming them with too many details and something that they would actually be willing to fill out for us. So we've come up with 5 or 6 grouping of questions and kind of the survey methodology, flyer, QR code, et cetera, that we think would be appropriate to engage the crowd around our work. And then Michelle took our discussion and wrote some draft questions, and also helped draft some drafts of the flyers. And the flyers, Michelle, please help me. The flyers are really to kind of educate people on what the statewide plan is. Are they even aware that it exists? And also supply the QR code to get the input from them. And then after we do this at the statewide conference, the group has agreed to synthesize the data, because there's a mix of closed questions, and then some, or sorry, not closed questions, but some questions that we can easily quantify and others that are qualitative that we're going to have to kind of just analyze a bit. So the group has agreed to synthesize that after the conference and present that to this group for furthering of the information that we find out from the survey. Michelle, I hope that did not butcher and decently characterize what we did and what we're showing to the committee right now.
You did a phenomenal job.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Arash. So what we have is we have the survey. And so we'll have a QR code that goes to the survey. The QR code will be available on the flyers. We thought we'd also have a little stand-up kind of flyer that folks can just, click on the QR code to get to the survey. And we've also, the MC will bring it up a couple of times during the conference and say, hey, the ICHH is looking for your input to help get prepared for the next iteration of the state plan, right? And so really, were they aware of the plan before that day? Yes, I'm familiar. I'm not very familiar with it. I heard about it, but didn't know much about it. Nope, not aware of it, right? Kind of gauge the level of awareness. Looking ahead 3 to 5 years, what should be the highest priorities for preventing and ending homelessness, giving them the ability to select 3. So kind of just giving them a list, but kind of consolidating a few things so that, like, just kind of the conversations we've been having here, some things don't necessarily need to be as delineated as we have in our existing plan. But then there is also a option of other where folks can fill things out. And then what's greatest opportunity, thinking positive rather than negative, what's greatest opportunity for Nevada to improve its response to homelessness over the next 3 to 5 years? That'll be an open text, but we can give an option or an optional prompt to kind of get them thinking, like, kind of in the vein of, it could be a service or resource gap, a policy or system change, an opportunity for greater coordination or whatever, right? So kind of give them idea of what a variety of opportunities to think about. Imagine Nevada's successful in implementing the next strategic plan. 3 to 5 years from now, what would be meaningfully different? What does that look like? Right? Kind of getting to what change does that mean? So that we can think about what measurably would be different. How do we measure that? What does that look like? And then an optional question, is there anything else that you would want the ICHH to consider as it develops the plan, kind of open-ended? How would you like to stay involved, right? We want to get people involved if possible, so give them some options, and then they can fill out how we can get involved with them. And then what perspective are they giving us information, right? Are they a person with lived experience? Are they a provider? The government entity, where are they coming from? If we haven't listed that, give us another, and then the region that they're coming from. So that's kind of the survey that we're proposing. We would ask that, our H2H team members help us to create the survey itself and give us a QR code, but that we can then put that out there. So that's one of the things that we'll need your approval for, is the survey. The other thing is the flyer. So we created 3 different, like, iterations of a flyer. The team kind of landed on, they like this one the best. I'm not a graphic designer, so anybody want to take this on, they're welcome to take it on and create a flyer. This was just my efforts with doing it.
It's beautiful, Michelle. It's beautiful.
So
It really is.
But kind of, what we are, who the Technical Assistance Committee is, what our mission is, And then on the back side, kind of our 3 priorities. The housing resources, prevention, intervention, RAP services, and then having a sharper statewide plan, and then having a space here for a QR code for the current plan, and then a QR code to the survey.
Honestly, yeah, Dr. Janelle, for the record, I think this is great because I don't think we've ever had anything like this before. So this is a really great start. I'm going to go on mute. I know someone else wanted to say something.
We have
Thank you.
not. Now I did create 2 other iterations of flyer that has a lot more stuff on it. Thinking that, you know, if we could get permission to use the state logo, we could put the state logo on here because we're part of the state, you know, state work groups. And then, you know, what is ICHH? What's the TA? You know, why it matter, you know, state leadership, and you know, how we work together and why it matters and how we engage. And then on the backside, kind of what we're doing. And then I was thinking how many items we have planned, how many are in progress, how many nearly completed, and then our current work that we're doing and why we want their input and the QR code and the survey and all that stuff. But that might be too much, right? Which is why I ended up with this last one, which was like really minimal, right? So I've got like these 3 iterations of a flyer. I don't care if you don't use any of them, but because you put me on a work group, that's what you end up with. So either either you tear it apart or you give us permission to move forward, but we need something.
I think this is amazing, Brooke, for the record, the amount of work that y'all are able to do since our last meeting. So commend this committee. Thank you for your efforts. I think to me, it would be great to maybe strike a middle between this robust, very great information for us to have and like a simple version, like maybe a 2.5 pager or something like that. Only because I think it would be helpful to go back to this conference that we have gone to every year and give them an update too on how their voice has helped inform where we're at. Because I think what I get feedback on is people, you ask me for my feedback, or you know, there's all these plans and surveys, but how are you using my information in order to inform what it is that you're doing? And if there was a way for us to sort of capture some of the key, like a key dashboard in terms of how the last conference or the conference before that, and how that's like grown iteratively to help us get to where we're at now, and people can see that your voice is meaningful and it's helped, you know, kind of move this process along. If you've been engaging with us, especially at the homeless conference. So that would be my only recommendation in terms of all of this work that y'all have done. It's great.
Okay. Any other thoughts? What about the survey? Any concerns about the survey?
I love the survey, Evelyn, for the record. I think that ease of access with the QR code, nope, everybody at the conference should be able to take a photo of the QR code and get right to it. So as long as there's no, I don't know if maybe we should have someone, like once it's completed by the team, have someone go through it and make sure there's no kinks and anything before we set it out to the larger population. That's it. But I love it.
Okay. Any concerns with the questions or anything on the survey? Okay. So what we need to know is are y'all good with the survey? You good with a flyer? And then we need to know who's going to man the table at the conference. I will not be available to man the table at the conference. Katrina will not be available to man the table at the conference because she's running a whole doggone conference. And Arash said he will not be available to man the conference. So we've done the work. We'll be doing work up to the conference, but we need somebody to man the table at the conference. Or a couple of somebodies to man the table at the conference. Or at least in between sessions at the conference.
I was gonna ask if there was any additional support needed. I would love to fill any gap that I could if there's any support needed.
Okay. Thank you, Bevelyn. Anybody want to help Bevelyn?
This is Brooke for the record. It'd be interesting if this table could be in between other tables that are supported by other organizations that are going to be maybe having tables at the conference to sort of maybe do a dual function. So let's just say if there was so happen to be a Wing Wolf table, could this table be in between maybe a CSH table? So that way a person could sort of leverage dual roles and it be, I don't know,
Is
supported.
CSH going to have a table?
I believe so.
Okay, we will have a table too. Winged Wolf will have a table too. So if we could set that up, if we could arrange that with Katrina, then I think that's a phenomenal idea, Brooke. And we would be glad to provide that support. And even if I personally am not at the table at that time, my team is competent enough that they can provide support.
And I was going to add, like, depending on what my schedule is, because I really don't know, like, day to day leading up to. So, like, if needed, like, literally, like, the second to the fifth last resort, I would be the person.
Okay.
It just really depends, because I'm like only one person, like, running my entire office until I get some help.
Okay. All right. So, so at this point, do we need to, I guess I'm going to ask Abigail, do we need to take a vote on moving forward with the survey?
This item is for possible action. You can take a vote, but if we have or you guys need to make any changes, we'll have to make another agenda and vote for that too.
But you could move forward with creating the survey without them doing a vote, right?
Yes, because we are still going to send it to you guys and you will still have to vote it by your September meeting if you want it on the agenda.
But we have to vote on it before we implement the survey, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Brooke, for the record, is there a way that we could like see these through an email to help provide any feedback to finalize these by the next meeting?
For the survey or for
both? Because I like the survey could be started, and then us have the ability to provide feedback on any recommended changes between now and our next meeting, so that way it could.
Yeah.
We could provide feedback.
Yeah, I'm wondering, Abigail, could we create the survey and then have this group be a test subject for the survey?
I think that's doable. We are just Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And then that way they could give feedback on the way it's worded, the way it works, all of that stuff.
Yes, we can try that.
Okay. And then in the meantime, can you send out, if I send you the flyer, can you send that out and then ask folks to send feedback back on the flyer?
Yes.
Does that work for what your request was, Brooke?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, so with that, then we will forego a vote until next month and keep this item on the agenda for final vote for those things. Does that sound like a plan, guys?
Yes.
All right. With that, I'll close agenda item number 7. We will move on to agenda item 8 for possible action, discussion, and possible action regarding recommendations for the ICHH's future agenda items. We've been talking about this throughout our meetings and been taking notes. And so I think that for our next meeting, we will actually have a list of actual possible action regarding recommendations for ICHH. But we do have a standing item on the next ICHH meeting. So the question, it really will be who's going to present at the next ICHH.
This is Brooke for the record. I have this on my calendar. I could make myself available to present at the next ICHH meeting.
Thank you, Brooke. I appreciate that. Their ICHH meetings always conflict with the Rural Nevada COC steering committee meetings. So I always have a conflict with that. But something for folks to think about, it should not always fall on Brooke to speak to the ICHH. So consider for future, who else wants to step up, right?
Hi, Michelle.
Well,
I'll step up. I'll step up at some point. No problem. I just feel
Okay.
like I still feel like a bit of a, I want to say newbie at this point, but just want to make sure I understand like the full context like you and Brooke do to make sure, you know, it's not just it's a dynamic presentation where if there are questions and things, it can be thoroughly addressed as opposed to just surface scratch. So I will look forward to informal training from you all on how to prepare for that, but you know, not afraid to talk to a group at all either. So no problem.
Yeah. And just show up to the ICHH meeting and listen in, watch. Right.
All right. When is that meeting?
The next ICHH meeting is September 17th at 1 p.m.
Okay. I don't know if I'm on the invite or get links, but if someone can clue me on how to access it, I'll try to do it.
One of the H2H team can make sure that you get that information.
Thank you, H2H team and Madam Chair.
Okay. Anything else on this agenda item? Hearing none, we're going to close this item and we'll move on to discussion of agenda items for our next meeting, September 15th, 2026. We've got a lot of agenda items that are carrying over. So we have our standing, the minutes. We've got our work group discussions. We've got the update on the strategic action plan, the discussion and possible action for the state conference, action regarding recommendations for ICHH, and our agenda items. Anything else that we need for next month's agenda?
Evelyn, for the record, did we agree that we wanted to do that standardized list of questions and come back next meeting to agree on them?
The presentation framework, right?
Yes.
Presentation framework. Yes. Okay. Anything else? Okay. No? All right. Then with that, we're going to go ahead and close agenda item number 9. And we will go to agenda item number 10, which is our second of 2 public comments. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. If you're making a public comment via phone, please call 1-775-321-6111. ID number 731-029-308#. We're open for public comment. Any public comment? Has anything come in writing during our meeting?
There is none, Michelle.
Thank you. All right, last call for public comment. Hearing none, seeing none. It is 3:47, and I will adjourn this meeting of the Interagency Council on Homelessness to Housing Technical Assistance Committee. I want to thank you all for being here, for being active and engaging. Thank you so much, and I will see you next month. Same back time, same back channel. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank
Bye,
you all.
everyone. Thank you for keeping up the good fight.
Yes.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Bye.